Yay.
Can you?
We're back.
Yeah, no, not really an absence. You know, we put up one last week.
Yep. Well, so that's about what we've been doing recently.
Yeah.
About one a week.
Which is nice, which is good. Good solid output. No third member this time.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe our views will go up a little.
His have been low. Lower for us anyway. You know.
He's like the lead dragging us down.
Yeah, it's pretty funny that I get to say it to him now.
Good job, man. Screwing everything up.
Yeah, right. Just when we had momentum, you were a big old stop sign in the middle of that.
So, what are we talking about today?
Well, mostly I want to talk about that. Those Owen Benjamin his rants, or I guess they're not rants. There's his I don't like rants. It's an automatically negative connotation,
Yeah.
because he's just talking, I suppose, but he went off on some people, man. And you smiled deviously. I can definitely see why you like him.
Dude, he went hardcore, man.
Yeah, for sure, hardcore. And
It's pretty crazy.
I'm always conflicted with him. We kind of talked about it before with his whole use of or his whole thing with the N-word, where I was similarly sort of conflicted about, I just don't know whether or not I just agree with his clearly I don't agree with his approach in life because I'm not like him. So, you can know that I'm not that kind of person. I don't, feel a strong need for calling people out and cause conflict and be you have to kind of be. Well, maybe let's start from the beginning before I get into it. I don't want to, do you care to explain? Because,
I mean, basically the videos I watched are some of his comedian friends have been basically making his thing a joke, just basically saying oh yeah, he's racist, and not just his friends, I guess, but other just comedians have been talking shit about him. And I mean, it cost him a lot in his life to do what he did, so it just kind of pissed him off. So I mean, he went after him, especially since they were his friends.
I think that's a fair, I think that's a pretty fair summation of what happened. I think though, for people, it's just kind of because to me, I can see it more from their point of view because I don't watch everything that he does. So I only get highlights of him. Of what he's doing, and it just seems he kind of exploded into my consciousness just being this guy who's kind of he's super, I would say he's very right wing in his beliefs, he's very
but not
that.
really though.
You don't think so?
He wasn't almost at all. He was a liberal before any of this started, and at best now he's libertarian. Okay. But still not right wing though. As far as general right wing goes.
In terms of what? Because the people that he that he cites that he likes, all kind of lean that way. He's
not really. He likes Mike Cernovich.
He's not.
Mike Cernovich is not right wing. He hates both sides. He recently, I mean, just because of the free speech thing, started listening to Alex Jones, who's not really right wing.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even call Alex Jones a somebody that I see him liking. I guess I consider
Stefan Molyneux not right wing.
I guess I consider Mike Cernovich and Stefan Molyneux more right wing than not.
See, that's how they paint them. That's not what they are though. They're just just right of what left has become.
What is then what? So if I said someone's right wing, who's right wing to you then? Let's
Steven Crowder's right wing.
Right.
Ben Shapiro's right wing.
Right.
Gavin McInnes. Well, I mean, Gavin McInnes is almost middle ground too, though, depending on what he's talking about.
Right. So when you say they're not right wing, you mean they're not like socially conservative, but they they have more like libertarian like government philosophies.
Yes, exactly. So they're in the middle.
So that's
where the center is.
Right I do
there.
feel like that is like the most like popular, like that's what all my or most of my or the people I know like have, or most people I've talked to like throughout my life, like that's like the most common thing they say. If they're not like too enmeshed in politics, they sort of say like, I'm sort of right wing, or I'm sort of socially liberal and like right wing, like when it comes to government like involvement, which means like I just like for like as much freedom as possible. That is like, I guess that's middle ground. So I guess that's more fair to say. I guess in these times though, it all just it seems more right wing because they end up just.
Media says.
And it's not even what the media says because like I'm watching it too. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not.
But that's the spin they put on it.
No,
like I mean, if you listen to what Stefan Molyneux had to say, would you really think that he was right wing?
I mean, it's not like I haven't listened to them at all. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've listened to a few
but like
of his
I
things.
follow their tweets quite a bit. Like I mean, Stefan Molyneux, he posts like some snarky stuff, but like for the most part, I guess you might be able to see that he might be further right. But it just depends on the subject they're talking about.
Yeah, I guess
really.
I call him right.
So most of the time they're saying freedom of speech, which that is a right wing thing now.
Right, and he makes like a lot of what they're doing is in counter opposition to like to the left. So like that's why I say like he's, you know, that's I guess why my perception is like that, because it's not like I'm just being like, you know, I have no idea who these guys are.
But see, like what I'm saying is like, you know, John McCain just died, right?
Rest in peace.
Mike Cernovich, like, posted on Twitter that he was a warmonger and like several other things. Jeez. Like, so really wouldn't say he's right wing, you know? Like I would say like he's somewhere in the middle, doesn't like either side.
Yeah. But yeah, which is kind of actually what I think you and I'm not sure if it was you and I was talking about this when I was kind of classifying Alex Jones, where I said like it's kind of hard to call him right wing because he's just like, you know, crazy, kind of off like his own, like, you know, he's off the reservation.
He
like,
hates both sides.
Yeah, it's like we're playing baseball and he's in the parking lot playing drunk like wiffle ball or something. Like I don't know, he's not really on the team. Like yeah, he's playing a sort of similar sport, but he's not in the stadium and he's drunk.
I mean,
that's my metaphor for him.
Yeah, I mean, so that's kind of how it is. But I mean,
okay, so
well, and he was also, I think he's also just mad too because like these people were his, you know, friends.
Yeah,
like all of them have said like, you know, he's either been on their podcast or like I think Whitney Cummings actually said like, oh yeah, we used to be like pals. Yeah. It's like they don't pay attention enough to their friends to to even see what they're saying. Like they just go off of what people tell them. Like, they don't actually, like, talk to him. And
well,
be like,
it's hard for, you know, it's hard to keep track. And that's actually the biggest thing I think that was, well, first, let's get to, like, he was getting in comments with three people, primarily. It was Theo Vaughn, Bert Kreischer.
Four people.
Bert Kreischer,
yes.
Joe Rogan, and who was the fourth one?
Whitney
Cummings. And Sam Harris.
Oh, Sam Harris, but also Whitney Cummings.
Yeah, but Whitney Cummings was sort of like, because, like...
She's the person that has in common with all of them.
But...
Because she's talked the most shit about him.
Right, but, you know, I don't think he ever considered her, like, a friend. Like, he always kind of thought,
maybe
like...
not.
So, like, most of that was, like, not even centered around her, even though she was the one saying, like... She said the worst things about him, but he was more mad that, like, he didn't offend him because he thought, like, they were pals. Like, didn't seem like he ever liked her particularly, so it's not like, you know, it was something like new was revealed about her. It was just like, okay, that was the crazy, like, you know what I mean? Like if some who's some like super left-wing like comedian, like if I don't know,
all of them now.
I guess if like Sarah Silverman was saying something like that, like it probably just be like par for the course, and like it wouldn't be a big deal to him.
I've actually noticed it's happened more and more. Like, I don't know. I haven't listened to a lot of comedians recently because it just seems wrong.
Well, it's everyone's kind of have to have this like opinion on it, on these sort of things, and a lot of it, like, it's not. It's just not a good play. Like, comedians, to me, not that, you should be making any joke of this, but you should be sort of outside of it. Like, you're supposed to just be pointing out the ridiculousness of what we're doing, not like getting like picking this side, the other side, and like. Okay, but to finish, like, what I was saying about him, like, I think there's also this thing where it's like he seems very right wing now because he attacks the left a lot stronger than he used to.
Yeah.
Like, so I think that's where that perception comes from. It's like, okay, you could say, like, your beliefs aren't like what you consider like strictly conservative. Like, they're more libertarian, but it's like you end up fighting with the left so much that it's like that's where that's where we see you.
Yeah,
but I don't those think are going to be your friends. Like,
I don't even think he would be like against them calling him right wing though. Like, no. I don't think he would care about that. It's like it's the other things.
It's
like
that
labeling
they call
him as a
him
racist.
I think his if you want to say he has a problem, and I think he kind of does, or like I think what this issue is for everybody else is just the fact that it's like he's make himself like toxic with like because
of a word.
Yeah. I mean, that is it. It's like,
even though the person that tours with him everywhere, like his buddy that's been through like all of this with him, is black.
Yeah, I mean,
his wife is Hispanic. Like, I think people should not be so stupid.
I'm not accusing him of being a racist. What I'm saying is you just make yourself toxic. It's like, do you want to be hanging around the guy who like all of a sudden like sees it as his like job to say the N-word?
I mean, if he's trying to make a point about it, I don't think it really matters. Like, I'm not going to do it, but I don't think that you should like automatically just go with it. Like, I think if you let other people say that
let's break down two
stop like defending him, then what ends up happening is people just start calling him racist, and then, which is not true. And then you start losing the meaning of the word because...
Right. Well, first, let's break down, because one guy didn't call him a racist. Theo Von didn't call him a racist. That's not what he said.
Well, no. Whitney Cummings called him a racist, and he agreed. Or, like, he didn't defend him.
He didn't defend him there. But first, like, the person called... Bert Kreischer called him a racist. Mm-hmm. Like... And I think that was wrong because he's like, I don't think he is. I mean, he was making a joke, but I think that's kind of like a cowardly, like that would be a, that's
it's like everybody will applaud me for doing this kind of joke.
I don't even think everybody will applaud. Like, I think it's actually what he thinks. Like, but I'm sure from his point of view, it's like all of a sudden, it's like he's not paying attention and he just. But like it is like you should be more careful with what you're saying about somebody. If you're going to say it like on a public forum, it wasn't right. Like out of the three, I thought that one was the most wrong. Like, you could just say it was a joke, but like it's a joke that I think he probably thinks that because he probably just sees him online. Like, oh, he wants to all of a sudden make this joke like that N-word stole my bike, and like all his jokes are kind of like that. Yeah. Like that was all that he was tweeting about, and he was just getting into fights about it, and like he was making that his whole persona. But his new tour is Persona Non Grata, and it's a great name because that's what he is now. Like, he just like he makes himself like an issue for people because like I don't want to associate. Like, not everybody wants to fight these battles, Like, people just don't. But for the Bert Kreischer thing, I think he just sees that as like, oh, I guess he's racist because like that's all he wants to say. But he's not like looking at the deeper point. So you could say he's like an idiot, or he's not like smart, or or he's an idiot about that issue, or you should, and I would agree that you should look into it more like thoroughly if that's what you're gonna say. Like, like you shouldn't just throw an accusation at somebody at that. Like, it's very careless with what you're saying. So like for him, I see Owen's point more clearly, But for the Theo Von one, what Theo Von said was that like it seems like a bit desperate because he's not out here. Like, he sees it as, like, I guess this is, like, his way of getting attention, right? Like, that was the bad thing that he said about him. He didn't correct Whitney Cummings.
He didn't correct Whitney Cummings. He said something, and I don't know enough about the Roseanne show to get the comparison. but he compared him to the son of Roseanne.
No. When he said he's not comparing him to the son of Roseanne, he's saying he's like in the way that Roseanne was kind of crazy, tweeting crazy things.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's like her son, because like he's doing the same thing. He's like the son of Roseanne, like living in the woods, like because he's not in L.A. Like he's out in the woods. Like that's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
So he's saying like he's just tweeting crazy things, like Roseanne was tweeting crazy things, and like to him it seemed like a bit desperate. Like
I will say though, with the Theo Von thing, they've been texting. One, Owen Benjamin hasn't been on Twitter for months.
Right.
They've been texting all after that episode that happened, talking about it. So for several months after Owen Benjamin's off of Twitter, mm-hmm. and, acting like they're still somewhat pals.
I'm sure he would.
And so...
Yeah, well, he's also... It also seems like a thing for him, like, in terms of what's like... At least this is the way Owen Benjamin framed it. Like, he hasn't responded yet, so I don't know what he was thinking. But... And this is, once again, like, what I'm talking about, making yourself a toxic, like, asset, to, like, around people. It's like he's just starting to gain, like, his fame a little bit. He's starting to come into his own. It's like when you have someone, like he's about to get a development deal or, for some crap. And when you have someone who's a lot bigger than you, which Whitney Cummings is, like, she's a pretty big name. I mean, she had her own show, right? She's big. She's big in the industry. And then you have this guy that's just, like, he brings with him all this, well, he brings the ire of the mainstream media with him, like, is the thing. Because, like, that's what he sees his job as now. That's what he said, like, specifically in his... in that stream, he said, like, I'm the tip of the spear. It's like, that's why people fly me out, because I'm, like, a warrior in the culture wars. It's like, I don't want to be a warrior in the culture wars. I want to be a comedian. I just want to, make stupid jokes and, like, and laugh at people about things. So I'm not going to get into an argument with Whitney Cummings and, like, harm my future. I'm not going to have this guy on that's, like, you had this guy on that's, like, his every other tweet was about the N-word. Like, this guy, like, this is, like, the mainstream, like, this is how people are going to start painting it, like, you know what I mean? I mean, it sort of is a sad state of affairs, but at the same time, it's like, you want people, like, you're forcing people to fight your battles then, like, to associate with you. Like, that's the way you make it for them, because they don't have another, you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, crap, now I gotta, like, I gotta either be defending these jokes with him, or, or I gotta risk, I gotta risk my future.
You don't even have to defend the jokes, though. Like, he's not even asking you to do that. He's just asking you to not call him a racist.
He didn't call him a racist.
Well, but when Whitney Cummings says, "Isn't he like a white power guy now?" and you don't say, "No, actually he's not." Like, you don't have to defend him. You should just say, like, "No, that's not accurate." Like,
yeah.
He just makes jokes.
He also said in their text exchange, like, that he read, that he's, like, new to learning how to interview people, and he's, like, a little nervous about it. So there's probably a part of him that's just like, I'm not sure how much I'm supposed to, like, you don't want to get into a fight with somebody.
Yeah.
Some people are just, are kind of like that. And you also just might have that kind of personality where it's like you're kind of, when, what you called like a social chameleon. I mean, you weren't in reference to him, but, like, that sort of personality where it's like whoever you're talking to, it's like you're just trying to relate to them. So you'll sort of be like, a little, like, fungible, I'll say, like, in what you think, or at least, like, you'll highlight different parts of what you think. And, like, it might be a whole picture of what you think, but, if I think one, like, I'm sure, like, there's a part of him that clearly thinks that what Owen Benjamin doing now is a little crazy. Like, it's a little crazy, and he doesn't understand it. Like, for him, it just seems like somebody trying to get attention by doing stuff like that. And he said, like, Owen Benjamin would say that's not what he's doing, and that's fair enough, but, like, that's the way that part of him sees it. So he's going to say that just so I can relate to you, even though there's another part of him that probably thinks, like, he's a fine guy. Like, I know him. Like, he's not a bad person, but it's just, like, he's just doing this thing right now. So, I mean, you can hold those two opinions.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you shouldn't, like, or not you shouldn't, but you don't have, or I'm sure there's nobody in your life that you 100% agree with everything they do all the time. You know, like
No.
everybody's got their good and their bad aspects. So you can highlight that in a conversation without even making you a liar. And, you know, you just don't bring up the other part, you know, which is maybe not the best thing when you're on, you know, like a public forum. I do think that it makes this different. Like, so I'll give Owen Benjamin that point at least, but he just makes it like he does make it hard for people.
I'm
know?
sure, yeah, that's
like,
the case. I'm just saying, I was like, I don't know. I couldn't take. I can't do that to people around me though. Just to, like, I couldn't just like throw my friend under the bus, like, just to get ahead.
Yeah. Well, I'm
like,
it's the, I guess though, I mean, there's definitely that sort of aspect to it. And like that, I think that was his point. Like that was Owen Benjamin's point, and I could see that to an extent. But it's like, you know, it just when in the way he was like talking about it, it's like you give no consideration to the fact though that's like you're becoming like a burden to these people that are your friends. Like we all work in the entertainment industry, and we don't want to be, you know, we're not warrior. You know, we're not the tip of the spear. That's not the way I see my job. I see my job as I just want to tell jokes and, like, you know, laugh and fuck around and all this, like, you know, shit. And it's like you have this, like, very moralistic calling, like, you know, let's say, to...
well, I think part of the reason why Owen Benjamin does it is also, though, because if you don't draw a line somewhere, like, comedy gets taken over. Like, you can't just do comedy anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be really careful with what you say. Like, and I think that was the whole point of what he was starting to do was, like, look, like, if they're banning this now, just wait. You won't be able to say this, or this.
Yeah.
Like, and so basically he was just taking a forward approach to it. So, like, I mean, sooner or later, all these people are going to get in trouble.
Right.
Like, for something they say.
Yeah.
Like, and they're gonna have to kowtow to it, and then other people will cut them out, and they're gonna eat their own, and that's what he's saying. He's like, if you don't do it now, you'll have to do it eventually.
I mean, I appreciate that point of view, but not everyone sees their life in a. I mean, I actually like that better. Like as a person, like what do I admire more? Like I admire somebody that, like, I can admire it more when somebody sees their life in a larger context. I mean, I think a lot of the people that I like, you know. Like, I like that about, you know, what Jordan Peterson says. Like, you know, I like the fact that he sees, like, these little lies. He sees, like, you know, some people might wonder why you would take something like that and then you kind of, like, extrapolate it out to, like, the gulags and things and, like, Nazi Germany. It's like, isn't that, like, a bit, like, extreme, like, to see your life there? But some people see their life, you know, in that sort of grand context of people, and, like, that's why you start taking on, like the responsibility to say, you know, things, because you're not looking at it like, you know, like it's just a personal, like, you're not looking at it solely in the context of, oh, I'm just talking to a person, so, like, what I say, it doesn't really matter. You know, you're seeing it in that thing, and so you take on the responsibility. Like, I like that. Like, I appreciate that, but not, people don't live their lives there, you know? Like, for most people, it's just like, I'm just, like, talking, trying to get through my life, you know? So it's and you want them to, like, see the world the way you see it, you know, as in where, like, we're in a battle right now and we gotta draw this line. But for them, it's like, I'm not in a battle. I am a comedian, you know? I'm just a dude. Like, I am not fighting a fight. I'm just, you know, last time I checked, I wasn't drafted in nothing. So I'm just trying to get ahead, you know, while I can and not have to, you know, just get into these arguments about, you know, can I, you know, why should I be trying to reclaim the N-word, you know? Like, is that what I want to spend my life doing? Like, do I care whether or not people use that? You know, and you're saying I'm crossing some sort of line? Well, like, fuck, I don't care then, you know? That's the way most people would, like, I think that's the way most people see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, they're not.
But I mean, before he even did all that, like, people started turning on him just when he did the trans kid thing.
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't just like that one thing.
No,
like that was
it's
when
just
they
sort of the
when they cut
context
him off.
of
It
who
was
he's
like before
become.
that happened.
It's the whole thing that he's become, I think, because he is more enmeshed in that now, and like he is like, what he does is like confrontational to that, against what he sees as wrong. Like what he does now is in confrontation to that. That's why I classified him as right wing, because it's in confrontation with the left wing. I understand that he's not that, and that's a good distinction to make. But the point is that he's he sees himself as a war. Like he said, I'm tip of the spear. Like that's what he sees his life as, and it's just like, all right, like if that's what you want to be, then it's like that's not like people don't want that around them, and they're like a lot of people are just confused by it because they don't see that greater context. It's just like you were just a guy who was a couple years ago just doing as he says, like men and women are different jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And now what are we doing? We're tip of the spear. It's like, what the hell's going on?
So he was doing those jokes.
Yeah.
That were almost considered hacky at that point.
I thought he was good though. He was better at it than.
Oh no, for sure, he was really good at it. But like even he will say like that premise is somewhat hacky.
Yeah.
And then he said the same jokes got him in trouble later on.
Yeah.
And like so when he saw that, that's when he started to push further and further right wing.
Yeah. Ooh, that actually sounds really good in the mic. It's just water. It's nothing tasty.
It's weird, fruity, bubbly water.
Mm-hmm. Somebody, I saw a tweet said, "Why? Like, who likes seltzer water? It tastes like TV static."
I did see that.
Like, I love it.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's so weird to me. I don't know, man. It was just.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny too. I like him because man, he doesn't care. Like he's gonna speak his mind. Whatever he thinks, he's gonna say.
Yeah. Well,
like,
I
like that.
Yeah. Like I said, there does seem to be something to respect. Like in that, at least, like in somebody that's very strongly committed to what his or her principles are, and I guess I don't know him enough to say what his principles fully are. But either way, I can just respect the fact that this guy stands up, for what he's like. He is not afraid. Stand up for what he believes in.
Well, I think that's what one of his points was too.
Well, he was calling them cowards.
Yeah, because basically he was saying like, look, like the only way that you can really like just be like able to go through life and not have to lie is if you just let out your own like your own shit, your own secrets.
Yeah.
And like that's why these people won't defend other people. Not even just him. They won't defend like people that just do regular stuff. Like it's not like he is a little bit extreme like if you have to defend somebody. But like these people, I mean, they wouldn't even defend something, minor.
Yeah.
So like what he's saying is like it's because they have their own secrets and they're afraid that they'll come out. Like if they try to defend somebody else has a secret about them.
Yeah, well, they don't want to separate from the herd and then all of a sudden be like, like have all your like past drugged up. Like I'm sure that is part of, somewhere in their mind, maybe not in the forefront, but that is part of everyone's consideration. When you're online these days, it's like everything's out there. You know, like no matter who you are, it's just the matter of once you have the eye of Sauron on you, it's just like you're gonna, it doesn't matter how far you think you've hit it, like it's all there, and they're like the detectives are there. It's there if they want it, it's always there. Everything you say is out there. That's undeniable. So that is a thing, but it's like they're. I mean, I guess you could see that as cowardly, or you could just see it as like they don't see like what's worth, like why it's worth the fight, like for them. It's like you're asking me to do something, like is it just for you, like maybe they don't see themselves as like maybe this like you're not that good of a friend, and he was by the way totally offended, triggered by what he was saying about Joe Rogan. He was making fun of him for being short. He was making fun of him a lot for being short. I mean, that was actually the one that he was the most mad at, and I'm not even sure. Exactly.
It wasn't about him though. It was about the Alex Jones thing.
Yeah, but he was okay. You could say it wasn't about him, but he brought up like 10 times that people in LA think he's a monkey. He was like, yeah, I remember when I got 5'7", I was 5'7", and then I got to 7th grade, and then I could see over shelves, you know. And then he's like, I'm a better comedian than him. Like, I think, well, this was on the second one where I think he had a few seltzers and came back.
Probably.
A few hard seltzers. Like, he had I don't even know they sell them like this. He had like this, like the White Claw, like, you know, the vodka and seltzer water. That was like the fucking, like a bullet tube. Like, how many ounces of liquor is in that thing?
No, man, I mean, to be honest, I thought it was funny.
No, I mean, it's funny, and like, you know, I like that sort of like thing, you know, because just that I've always enjoyed that in, like, you know, when radio DJs used to fight each other and just be like, now I used to do that kind of shit all the time, just go down YouTube rabbit holes of watching people fight. Like shit I don't care about, I just like watching people fight. So like it was funny, like, but he was fucking ripping into him. He's like, you know, he's like, this fucking retard over here, he's like, I'm playing Mozart, like playing a beautiful thing, and you're thinking you can tell me how to joke, you know.
Well, yeah, so I think that was like a lot. It was a whole lot of different stuff.
Yeah, well, there was a lot in there. Like,
yeah,
because
it was.
That's why I tried to like say everything like each situation itself, because like there was a lot in all of them.
Yeah, because it was the Alex Jones thing, like Joe Rogan talking about not having him on the podcast.
Yeah.
And then, like, because they were buddies.
Yeah.
And, like, it was, like, along the same lines as what happened to Owen, I think.
Yeah.
And so, like, that pissed him off. Plus, like, I think a whole lot of people were basically, like, talking about how, like, oh, these, like, your friends, like, gave you this opportunity to be on their podcast and shit. Like, and basically Owen Benjamin's point was, like, no, like, they let me come on because I'm controversial and it got them views.
I don't think that's exactly fair in Joe Rogan's case.
No, probably not Joe Rogan's case.
Because, I mean, he's bigger than your controversy. I mean, you have, like, you know, 100,000 maybe, like, people that follow you. He's got millions, you know.
Yeah.
He, like, that was, you know, more so on he thought it was right that you should be given a platform, you know. So
yeah. Well, no, he was more talking about that for, like, Bert Kreischer, I think.
Yeah.
Like, with Joe Rogan's thing, it was the fact that, like, the last, you know, it was like he took offense to, like, Joe Rogan wanting to, like, control, you know, what Owen was tweeting.
Yeah, he definitely took offense to that.
And then it was the fact that, like,
he was getting fucking cocky, man. He got a couple of hard seltzers and then was feeling himself. He's like, I'm a fucking genius. You know? He's like, I'm a genius playing Mozart. I don't know, man. Your jokes are pretty good. I don't know if they're Mozart.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, it was just like, you know, he was calling, because, like,
I mean, he's fucking around. He's
I think Joe Rogan's pretty funny, but I will say, like, there's a few times where, like, I listened to some of his jokes, and Owen Benjamin did have a couple points, like, where Joe Rogan just yells.
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, that was part of the joke, is he just yells.
Well, that's when he started, like, yeah, that's when he...
and I was like, oh,
I was like,
kind of got a point there.
Yeah, well, that's when he started getting off, like, what I would call, like, a point, and was just fucking, like,
just
insulting
making fun
him.
of him.
Like,
Yeah.
he was just fucking going in on him. He said you look like a thumb. Like, he's like, I'm a better joke writer than you. I'm smarter than you. I'll logic you to death. Like,
I mean, he does write a lot of jokes for Steven Crowder, too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, he's a funny guy. I'm not saying he's not funny, but I don't know if he's like well, like, at that point you're just talking shit. Like, I don't know how you want me to, like, quantify that.
Well,
who's a better comedian?
I think
like,
basically what he was saying was, like, look, like, I admired you, like, you know, basically I defended, like, you, like, no matter what, and, like, this happened, so he's like, you know what, fuck you. Like,
he was like, he just liked the fact that people in LA called him a monkey. He brought that up like 20 times.
Yeah.
He's like, they called him a monkey. A monkey. It's like, I was hanging out with people that think you're a monkey. Like, I was like, all right. I'm not really even sure what you're, like, you know, is your point that you're defending him, or is your point that people think you're a monkey? Like, you know? But
a little bit of both.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely a little bit of both. Yeah, he seemed, Well, trying to break. I'm not sure exactly why Joe Rogan won't have Alex Jones on the podcast. Like, what he said was, like, he's still going through legal things.
Yeah, but you don't have to talk about those things.
Yeah.
Like, and
but I guess
even
it's
if
also, like...
he really didn't defend him very well, either. Like, he didn't say, like... I never heard him, like, really say, like, oh, they shouldn't have banned him. Like, oh, they shouldn't have done this. It was just like, oh, yeah, he said some crazy stuff. And that was, like, all he said about it.
Yeah, well, no, he had a long, like, discussion about it with Jimmy Dore. I was just
Yeah, but I think Jimmy Dore defended Alex Jones better than...
Jimmy Dore definitely was way more...
And Jimmy Dore's not even right. Like, he's, like, way far left.
Yeah, well, he's actually... It's actually a funny thing. He's, like... He's right there at, like, the same, like, principle, but then, like, he's just a different solution. He's totally that guy, right? Where it's just, like... You understand everything he's saying. It's like, he wants... Like, I actually appreciate a guy like that because, like, it seems like he sees, like, you know, or at least I can appreciate talking to somebody like that because, like, you know, you're seeing the issue the same exact way, but it's just like his solution at the end is like, you know, for the right wing, like, person, you would say, like, the solution is just to let, like, the market, like, work. Yeah. You know, like, these, like, what's gonna happen with Facebook and and YouTube and these people, if they keep, you know, demonetizing people and pushing news stories down and making a platform that's secretive about its process of censoring people and is engaged in censorship, is that eventually something else will just come out. Though for him, he's like, you know, it's too big now and we need to, like, regulate it. Yeah. But, like, that was his, like, main point. But, you know, at least he you know, he agrees with, like, generally, though, that these people should be given, like, a platform to talk, you know, even if what they say is, like, stupid. Yeah. And this is actually a point more towards the Alex Jones thing. Although I think there was other things besides just the Alex Jones thing, because clearly it got personal, like, the whole thing. But I agreed with, or at least I found this a very interesting point. I don't know, I haven't thought about it, I guess, enough clear to say, like, whether or not I fully agree. But it's definitely an interesting point where it's like, why is, like, you know, Newton like the you know, the line that we're gonna draw? Because that's the thing everyone brings up. Yeah. And it's like we all kind of feel like it's the line to be drawn, but is it a logical line to draw for him? It's like either you gotta, like, you know, either maybe we should say just no conspiracy theories, which, you know, make that case.
Yeah,
you know,
that's a strain. How do you police that? Yeah, everything's a conspiracy theory.
Exactly. Make that case, I guess, if that's what you think. But it's sort of strange to draw the line of, you know, this thing, because it's obviously a tragic event. Like, you know, kids being shot is, like, as horrific as you can imagine, as you can imagine, and it feels visually worse.
But also saying 9/11 was an inside job. Yeah, that's pretty.
That's what I was going to say. That would
piss even more people off. Like, more people are involved.
More people, like, died. But then it's like, and that's, like, the game you don't really want to get playing. Like, you know, where you don't want to start having to, like, quantify, oh, well, this tragedy is worse because, you know, one child dead equals 3 adults dead, and, like, if you do the math, you know, you don't want to start playing that sort of game because, like, it's offensive to both. You know, if you're, you know, people that have conspiracies that are like the 9/11 thing was, like, holograms or stuff, like, that's offensive. I mean, you know, it's offensive in the same way the Newton thing is offensive. You know, like, you're taking someone's tragedy and saying it's bullcrap, you know, and it's equally offensive. And I'm sure he's pushed that with every shooting, I'm sure, like, you know, since Columbine. Yeah. So, you know, and it's weird that we're just saying all of a sudden that it's, Newton is, like, the line. Like, I mean, obviously it's horrible, but it's not, you know, there's no reason for me to say, like, that's more horrible than another tragedy. I mean, I understand, like, you know, we see children as kind of being blameless, but if you're, like, you know, if you were just working in the, you know, the towers and a plane hit you, it's like, you know, you were blameless or what? We're saying that, like, those, like, some of those people deserved it. Like, you know, like, that's not the right, like, way to think. Yeah. You know, I mean, it's just as horrible a tragedy, and, like, you know, and we're okay with that, but all of a sudden we're not okay with this. You know, I mean, and it is just what he does. You know, it's like, that's, like, if you're going there, that's, like, what you're gonna get. It's like we all know what Alex Jones does. So it's weird for me that Joe Rogan kind of, like, seems to, I mean, like, he seems to agree with that line, or agree to draw a line there.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not really sure why. I mean, there were some claims that he was doxing people. I didn't see that. I didn't see that like he actually gave their address.
Yeah, that's what people say.
Yeah,
but, like,
I didn't see that he actually
they're
gave,
always
like,
quoting somebody else though. Like they're never like showing like when he did it.
Yeah, because those people for sure did get harassed though by people that like were believing the line that it, at least for sure as far as I know. But let's not make conspiracy about a conspiracy. So we'll just say that's that people were harassing them, but I don't think there was like that he gave the address. I think people just put it upon themselves to find it because that information is like we were saying before, that information is on the internet. It's not like it's not public. So it's not technically public, but what isn't public with the internet.
Yeah.
So I mean, people just found those. I mean, but if he did give it, then if he gave out addresses of people, then I think that's actually is a fair thing to say. You're off the platform, because that's you're inciting people to harass these people.
Yeah.
You're sicking your audience on them. That's that.
But where does who do you decide that works for, and then you don't police it for? Because like they still show that like even when that's the line, that conservatives always get banned for shit like that, and
for
then
doxing?
Leftists, not just doxing, but I mean just like that, attacking somebody or like getting your fans to attack somebody. They show that it like in like conservatives cases like they'll get banned.
Right.
Liberals like no, they're okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what is like a #10 but that exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not even just the hashtag.
I'm not saying
trend,
like
though,
you can't tell people to like hey, write mean comments. I'm saying if you're giving out people's home addresses.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That's pretty messed up.
Because like that's what when he says when he said like he was accused of doxing, that's what I'm associating it with. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see that whether or not he did that. I don't think he did, because I feel like I would have seen that.
Yeah.
And like I did see.
Some people, if that was actual evidence they had, they would have plastered it everywhere.
Yeah. So
like, that's the thing that always gets me is like if they have evidence, they'd put it out there.
At least they should. So we can all stop like this guessing game of what it was.
I just think that's the thing is they never have any evidence for what they say.
Yeah. Or I mean, you don't really need evidence when like you're like the whole like concept of what you're doing is like vague. It's vague enough to be like.
But I mean, if you're doxing somebody, like they should be able to show that you doxed them.
That's an easy one. Like, but I feel like also, if it was doxing, then it's like clear, because I don't think anybody like right. I mean, you would agree with that, right? Like if you're giving out home addresses of people to have a harass, I mean that's
messed
like
up.
Yeah, that's that's a throw outable offense for me. Like
you can get off of the internet. Or I mean, you can get off of like your account and you can block people. You can't like stop shit from coming to your door though if your address is out there.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's beyond like the pale. But I don't think that's what he did. So like if that was, but like if it's just like because people are taking it upon themselves after hearing the crazy crap he says, to go harass these people. I don't know if you can really blame him for that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
People are crazy.
Yeah,
like people do crazy stuff for all followers.
Yeah, and his followers are probably crazier because they're like, you're winnowing down. It's like it's like his site is like a crazy, crazy people. Tractor beam. I'm sure. You know what I mean? Like I'd love to like I'd love to get 1,000 of his fans in a room and just like sit at the top and just like watch him like the Discovery Channel.
Would be pretty fun.
Throw like some news articles in the middle of the room, see what happens.
Actually, you know what? Actually, I know a guy who said that he watches like his show pretty regularly. Yeah. Like doesn't believe a lot of what he says, but just likes to watch.
Well, that's a lot of it too, right? Like.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe maybe a lot of his fans are all normal. They just like watching him go crazy.
Yeah, there's definitely because he's got like his audience probably like 1 million people, right?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah, it's got to be close to like 1 million. Like
now it might be more than that.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing got him
blew up.
Yeah, but yeah,
the Barbara Streisand effect.
I can't believe. Yeah, totally right. Very, I mean, they're not smart in terms of like what their goal is.
Yeah.
Some people it works though. Like that was, the other thing that was interesting about Jimmy Doherty was saying was he brought this to my attention, which I didn't know. There's all these things that they were, these other sites that were already getting banned. It's just like you hear about Alex Jones because he is big.
Yeah.
Like, he's pretty big, and there's all these people that are, kind of mid-range to small.
Well, yeah, the Barbra Streisand effect has to have something big. Mm-hmm. Like, because, the whole idea of it was Barbra Streisand's house. She was huge. Like, so therefore you tell somebody about something big.
But it's like, they're wiping other people off of, like, their most,
they do it all the
thing.
time.
Like, probably, like, wipes them out completely almost.
I told you the story the other day that, that one Freedom Center thing, because of the SPLC, Visa, and MasterCard. I think this is the second time we've talked about MasterCard doing something like this. Like, they refused to give him payments. Like, people couldn't donate through those cards, I guess.
It's very strange to me, because I don't know why credit cards are getting involved, It's like, nobody looks at
outrageous.
at least there's no example that comes to my mind of, like, there was a horrible crime committed. This man said something terrible. Let's see who he shot. Oh my God, he uses he uses Visa. I'm not using Visa anymore.
Well, no, it's not even they didn't cancel his cards. They made it where other people couldn't donate to him. Yeah. Like, so tons of people they shut down from using their cards.
Yeah, but I'm just saying.
You know how pissed off I would be as a customer if I tried to donate to somebody and then found out later that they stopped me from donating my money?
Yeah, but it's just, to me, it's strange when
you can bet I would be on the phone with customer service for hours berating them.
Yelling at this poor guy in a cubicle.
Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, you better send me up the chain.
I want to talk to Mr. Visa.
Send me up the chain right now.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying. I'm saying, like, why are they trying to disassociate themselves with people? It's like a credit card is like something nobody thinks about. Like,
it's because these people in power, like, they just get this weird, like, like.
That's like a complete, like, power trip. I don't know what, like, I don't want to keep using the same word, but I don't even know. I don't get that story at all. I have to look into that. But yeah. And then just to go quickly back to the Joe Rogan and the Owen Benjamin thing, like the rest of what he was saying.
Also, I think he was mad as well because of the last podcast that he did with him. Yeah. Because it was like he was in LA. It was on his son's birthday. And, like, at the last minute, Joe Rogan let Kurt Metzger come on and basically just, like, ruin the show. So Owen Benjamin didn't really get to talk about his special that was coming out. Like, didn't get to promote that at all. Like, Kurt Metzger just went crazy. Yeah. Like, and was, like, talking all over it. And, like, it's one of those things, though. It's, like, it's unprofessional, Like, he chose to be there. Like, you agreed to have him on your podcast. Like, it's his son's birthday. Like, he's trying to promote something to, like, to make money in a time where
he needs
like,
it.
Yeah, he needs it. And, like, that's how that happens. It's just unprofessional.
Yeah,
so.
But I'm sure when he invited Kurt Metzger on, it was more hoping that it would just, like, be like an element of conversation, because Kurt Metzger had kind of gone through that, right? Like, he'd had some tweets of his attacked, and he's been through, like, social media things, and it seemed like at first, the podcast did go, or at least, like, he kind of, like, he did hijack like where the conversation went, but at least it seemed when it was first starting off, like, the idea was, let's get him in here to kind of be like, you gotta stop going crazy on, like, Twitter. Like, you're harming, like, yourself, by doing this. It's not the, sort of thing. At least, like, that seemed to be his, like, perspective.
I don't even think he was hurting himself. He was getting more and more followers. That was the problem. It was Twitter banned him. Like, if Twitter hadn't banned him, he might even be bigger.
Very possible. But, he did hurt himself, though. Ultimately, or maybe hurt himself is the wrong word. It's like, and maybe they should have had, like, a bigger view of it, but it's like you closed off a lot of avenues to yourself, and you've definitely turned off the typical route, you know? Like, there is a way people usually go, and you've sort of closed that option off to yourself by being so, you know,
I think he would say that, you know, it's not worth it if you have to lie.
yeah, well, you know, and it's also, you get to define your own success. Like, if he, you know, right now he probably has, like, let's say 100,000, like, to 200 at, like, the highest of, like, very, like, loyal, dedicated people, and they keep him afloat, and, or, you know, they keep him not afloat, but, like, they keep his, you know, they keep him being able to do what he does, you know, that plus touring, you know, and he has a nice house and all this stuff. Like, if that's, like, maybe where his ceiling is now, you know, but he's happy with it, and he gets to, you know, say what he wants to say, and, you know, he likes he likes his fans, and he interacts with them, like, and that's where success is now.
Yeah.
Like, that's why, I mean, you got to take, like, a bigger view, and, like, instead of being, like, you know, because maybe not everybody wants to be, yeah, you know, or, like, clearly for him it's a big deal. It's like, I wouldn't want to have my own sitcom if it meant, like, I had to be somebody's slave, you know, like, or be a slave to these ideas that I don't agree with, or start talk, like, you know, if it means more to be, like, it means more to be honest with you, and that means, like, less fans and less, you know, monetary success, like, then that's, you know, that is, but it's not like you're unsuccessful. So, I mean, so they were probably wrong to try and, like, curtail him, like, because, like, I guess, like, if he thinks he's doing a point, like, the thing that's important is whether or not you think, like, the point he's making is right, I guess. Like, that's what you should be talking about, not, you know, whether or not it's, because you'll get the success that you know, that's possible through that route.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, so, and then, like, so I guess I think that, I mean, I think you should have Alex Jones on. I think it's good to have people talking, like, to him. Or I don't even know, because Alex Jones is so crazy. It's like, what are you going to get, like, from there?
I don't know. Like, they said, like, one of Joe Rogan's best podcasts was with Alex Jones. Like, most people, like, wanted to watch that.
Yeah, but I'm talking about in the context of this thing, you know, of him being, like, banned. Is like, you do want to hear his commentary on it, because I'm sure it's, you know, it's loopy. You know, I'm sure it's the same sort of, like, loopy, like, they
actually talked about how, like, Alex Jones is right about some stuff, at least, like, that people, like, wouldn't pay attention to. You know, like, he's got some weird stuff, but he's also, like, right, you know, a lot of the times, like, on certain issues. So.
Yeah, I've always, I used to, I said that, like, he was, like, like, he may be, like, he's such a, like, a buckshot, or, like, not even a buckshot, he's just, like a wild, like, whizzing thing of, like, ideas and conspiracies and all these other things that was, like, he might say something true, but it's like he tramples over what's true to get to, like, you know, to the point where the government's being run by is being run by, you know, interdimensional, like, pedophiles.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, like, you know, he's like ding 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 ding, just hitting every, like, idea on possible angle. So he probably hits on a few true things, but then, like, you know, it's just like, but that's not even, like, the real thing. It's like, wait, no, go back, stop. You said something there that sort of made sense. It's like, no. Let me get to the real thing, you know, like, so, like, that's kind of where I like, assume a lot of that comes from. I don't know if it's fair to say that, like, he's mostly right. Like, that the chemicals in the waters are turning the frogs gay, and, you know, all the classics. You know,
What if he's right? What if the frogs are gay?
I have noticed those frogs are acting awfully queer. I mean, strange.
So what did you think about his Sam Harris comments?
Well, he said something that, you know, not the way I would, you know, he said something that was questionable. He said he's a rich little Jew, which is, you know, easy there. I don't know about that one. You know, I don't know if that's definitely going to add to the fire. People saying that you're
Owen Benjamin's also
a quarter
Jewish.
Yeah, but the way he said that is like, he put a little stank on it. You remember that old Lucy K bit? where it's like we were just talking about that, where it's kind of weird, where like for a Jewish person, like the same word that is their offensive, like that is like their like offensive slur is also just like what it's totally fine to call them. It's just you say it with like stink on it, and then all of a sudden it's racist. You know, it's like, you know, you say, oh, he's a Jew, and that's like, you know, fine. You don't mean anything by it, or you say like, he's a Jew. You know, it's like that's what that made me think of when he said that. I'm like, you know, or that Bill Burr thing about, well, I'm not gonna say a bunch of different jokes, but you know, where it's like, yeah, technically what you said wasn't racist, but like you certainly put a little stink on that one. I guess you're just mad at him, but why'd you throw in that descriptor? You know, and it's like, especially when it's like he's not like clearly.
I don't know. I think it's one of those things that like you can almost use it like not as like he's against Jews, but he's like, because Sam Harris is an atheist, so calling him a Jew is like
offensive to him.
Yeah. I mean, maybe something like that. You could almost say possibly,
but yeah, there was that. And then,
but he kept just calling him a rich bitch, though.
Yeah,
just a rich little bitch.
Listen,
I laughed. I was like, yeah.
I don't understand. Well, I guess he was mad. Like the thing that he was mad at him about.
He was texting Joe Rogan, like sending him shit.
He was, well, he's talked about this on his podcast, so I understand like his perspective on that stuff. But he thinks that there's some people that it's just too big of a reputational cost to have like them associated with, and everyone that does an interview show kind of has to deal with this. Mm-hmm. You know, where it's like, is it, you know, are you going to have these people like, you know, people with, you know, offensive opinions or like controversy following them? Are you going to have them on your show?
Well,
and if you
don't have them on your show, but don't text somebody else talking shit about them, trying to get them off their show as well.
Well, I mean, from his perspective, it's like I'm texting a friend telling him like, you know, like, whoa, like, you know, be careful with this sort of thing. Like, don't you know this guy's?
I don't think it's that. I think it's Owen Benjamin talked shit about Sam Harris at one point on Twitter. Yeah. And so Sam Harris was mad and texted Joe Rogan and be like, we can't have him on, like he's talking shit about me.
Well,
I think it's that petty.
Maybe.
Because even as smart as Sam Harris is, he's still a petty little bitch because he's human.
Well, we got him here in the studio. Hey there, Forrest. Go fuck yourself.
I'm just saying, like, that's how because I watched the interviews in Vancouver.
Which one?
The Jordan Peterson ones.
Oh, you watched like the bootleg ones of it?
No. I paid $10 and
you did it?
Yep. And I'll let you watch him and then cancel my patron thing.
Who'd you pay it to? Sam Harris?
No. It's on a Patreon through the company that filmed it.
Oh, through Pangburn?
Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, those bastards.
Yeah, fuck them.
Yeah, fuck you, Pangburn.
Yeah,
how about that? I'm gonna watch this, let my buddy watch it for the $10 that I paid for this month, and I'm canceling on you.
And then we're gonna talk a lot of shit about you on the internet. Yeah. Like tough guys.
Assholes. Yeah. Record that and then put it behind a paywall.
Is that really the only way you can get that now? That's
pretty much. Like they ban everything else. I think I saw one on YouTube, but like the audio is normally like shitty on it.
Yeah. I don't like watching those either.
Yeah, or it's like they're filming it, but they have to like keep putting the camera down because like people are like walking around, you know, security shit.
But yeah. Well, let me watch that. But
no, like, I mean, it was interesting. It was a good conversation.
You know what's funny? The fucking the little compilation that he made of Sam Harris and Ben Shapiro saying conversations.
This was an hour-long podcast
about conversations. Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
That was a funny.
Man, he was going ham on a lot of people though. Like he was talking shit about Ben Shapiro. That's why I say he's not really right wing. Like he's his own thing.
Well, you know, he also
was talking shit about the IDW.
Yeah, you know, but I think there's also a bit of in there. It's like you really do need to broaden your perspective on things. I mean, you can't just say like if people don't agree with you, it's like that they're, you know, that makes them automatically wrong. Maybe you don't like, you know. I mean, because he was getting on Ben Shapiro about not. About the way he saw like the Roseanne thing. Like he thought he should have attacked her less and attacked what's his name?
He's
James
saying he doesn't
Gunn
like
more.
the inconsistency. Is because basically he said, yeah, Roseanne should be fired. Or, I don't know, maybe Ben Shapiro didn't say that, but, like, basically he made it more okay that Roseanne was fired than James Gunn.
Yeah, but his
that's a weird
he did say that,
consistency problem.
but, like, this was, like, his, but, like, his argument for that was, like, it's hard to distance Roseanne from the show Roseanne, and for James Gunn, he's, you know, a director. You don't see him. He's behind like the scenes, and it was also for old material. I mean, they're not the same situation. It's like, you know, this was stuff that he did in 2002 that they knew about beforehand, and that he'd already apologized for, and that's different than Roseanne, who is first off the star of her thing, like the central vehicle of it, where it's like, you know, people that watch Guardians of the Galaxy, they're not thinking about James Gunn. They're thinking about Chris Pratt and the raccoon. And also,
did you say?
I said he's a raccoon. I said, Mama got coons on the porch. She's chasing them off with a broom.
Great movie.
And it's also like what Roseanne said was new and happened that day. It wasn't like something. So I mean, they're different situations. But that's what I'm saying. It's like you can't have this thing where it's like, you know, the second someone doesn't see the situation the same as you, like that it's, you know, that just, you know, that makes them, you know, now they're not like my hero, you know, or something like that.
Well, I mean, I don't think that's how he is, though. I mean, I think it takes a while for him to normally go from, like, we're friends to that point. Like,
Yeah.
It took a while.
I don't see, though, I still don't see why he's so mad at, you know, at Joe Rogan. Like, I saw the other two, like, I can see that more. Like, you know, I could see more why when someone calls you, like, you know, someone who should know what you want, like, you're not a white... Sorry. That noise on the mic. You know, when someone calls you a white supremacist and, like, and you're my buddy in front of you and you say nothing, you know, even if you know, you want to concede the fact that he was that he's nervous about this, like, about his newfound fame, he's trying to protect it, like, you should say something. Like, I agree with that point more strictly.
Yeah.
I
think he saw the same thing happening with Alex Jones because Alex Jones is Joe Rogan's buddy, and he wasn't defending him. And then it was the other thing with that last podcast that they did together. And then it, you know, it's just like, well, actually, like, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if Whitney Cummings was like on Joe Rogan's podcast, I don't know if he would defend him.
Maybe not. Like, you know, I don't know.
I think that's
actually,
like,
I mean, I think he would. I mean, I think he. I don't know. Well, I'm not gonna like. It's too speculative. But I don't know though if I think. I guess I don't know what I would expect out of an Alex Jones podcast. Like, to why, like, he was on Anthony Cumia's show, and I didn't watch that. It's because, like, I don't find, like, what he would have to say on the topic particularly interesting, because he's just a crazy kind of person, you know? You know, I mean, for him, it's, like, probably a wet dream come true, because, like, oh, good, finally an actual conspiracy that involves me at the center, you know? So it's probably just more, like, gristle for whatever crazy thing he's going to say, but it's, like, I'm not going to watch that, because, like, he doesn't, like, he's not going to say something where I'd be, like, you know, oh, wow, my mind is, like, blown, like, by this guy's, by his view on it, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, for, like, that's the way I would feel personally about getting Alex Jones on there, like, to me, like, getting him on there would just be sort of chasing that, like, that's sort of clickbaity. But, like, when you actually think about, like, how would that be, it's like, I don't know. You know, Alex Jones just, he doesn't say things that are, that live in the same world that I live in. So, you know, it's like, I wouldn't consider it and once again, it's not to say that I think, like, what they did was right in terms of kicking him off. You know, like, if you're into that sort of stuff, and I mean, I agreed with the point that it's like, like, even the line they're drawing now with the Sandy Hook thing, it's like, that's not really more offensive than any other things that he said.
Yeah.
And he even made the further point that it's like, it's also, you know, when the media lies, the mainstream media tells lies, it has greater, consequences. Yeah, you know, like, so, you know, that's definitely a point to consider as well. It's like, you know, if a media outlet tells a lie, do we, you know, ban them all? But, you know, sudden, like, but Yeah, I still don't. I guess I don't understand. But he was like personally mad at him though, like because like the Alex Jones thing got like it got way off of that whole thing and just turned into like you're a little thumb.
I mean, he was talking shit
Yeah.
about all of them. I think Joe Rogan's just kind of bigger, so maybe he was trying to.
Yeah, well, that's part of that thing where it seems like it seems like desperation, I guess, from. I mean, even though like those comments predated it, but like when you're doing things that seem like that's just a way to draw attention to yourself. Like, and that's the way I guess some people see that. They don't see the principle.
I really don't think that's what he was trying to do, though.
With this thing.
Yeah,
I don't think I don't think it is either. But I think it's easy to see that see why people would think.
Well,
that.
I think that's why he did the second video. Was he's like, look, guys, I'm not doing this because like I'm jealous of these people. I'm not doing it because like, he was like, I wanted to still be friends with them. Like I wanted to be on their podcast. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to like, like I didn't want to do this, but. This happened 2 months ago, and like, like they just stopped like talking to me. So like fuck them. Like,
yeah,
if that's how they're gonna treat me, like,
yeah. Well, they're probably all are kind of icing him out because like he tried to get on both of their things. I mean, I think he's also probably pissed at that like whole thing. That's like, we would have been like we were friends now, but you guys are. But that's the cost of what he's doing, And this is kind of what the point I think was of saying like you do hurt. I mean, you close off avenues to yourself if this is the route you want to take in your life. Mm-hmm. There's gonna be things that you're just not gonna be able to do because not everybody not everybody wants that. They don't want this. Like you think it's an important like philosophical point to make about transgender children and the N-word and all these other controversial things. While I respect you, as a person, it's like you are going to have to live with those consequences where it's like you cannot expect the world to live in the way you live your life. It's
but he
you're
sure
making
can
a
go
choice.
ham on people.
Yeah, but you can't do that. Yeah. I mean, it's funny to see somebody like rip on Joe Rogan like that because he hardly ever gets touched like that. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure some people somewhere do, but not by like.
Well, yeah, in his comments, you can see a lot of people just like.
Yeah, people make fun of him all the time in the comments.
the Joe quotation mark Rogan.
I love those. Yeah, like they take a thing
funny.
that he says and they put it as his middle name.
I want to see if Joe Rogan responds or like if any of them respond. Really.
I would be surprised if he. Yeah, we'll come back.
That was a lot of shit that he said, man.
Yeah,
like,
I was actually checking on Twitter right before we started to see kind of like people are of course adding him at it, and they've made a nice compilation of all the shit that he said to cut it up and serve it to him.
Oh yeah.
But from everything that I've always heard, I've heard him say about that sort of stuff, like Joe Rogan, I don't think he will. I think maybe Theo Von and Bert Kreischer might, unless they're being counseled by Joe Rogan, because he's always like someone who's very much against conflict.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't like that sort of energy and like in his life. That's the other thing. People they don't want their life to be stressed out by this stuff.
Yeah.
So I'll be very interested to see if he does. Like if he does, it might just be a quick thing like he says to somebody, but I don't think he's gonna address it personally. Hopefully he has him back on. That'd be interesting. But see,
I don't know. By the end of that, though, he was like, oh, I dare you to have me back on now that you're not an idol of mine.
He was severely talking. Say it with your chest. I saw this funny voiceover. These two penguins going at each other. Like, come on, man, you got your flaps on me? You gonna flap on me? It was kind of like that.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, I mean,
crazy.
It was. He was going he's like, man, you see his audience these days? Yeesh. He's like, I guess people aren't digging you anymore. He was saying all sorts of nonsense about him.
I actually have to go look that up. I haven't paid attention.
I mean, I still see 1 million or so. I saw 1 million to 4. It's doing all right.
Yeah.
That's on YouTube only. Who knows what his downloads are?
It's crazy though.
Yeah, that was
just funny. Because I know I've kind of, I mean, I'll watch his show every once in a while, but he hadn't had anybody interesting on in a while.
Yeah, I watch the clips more. I mean, I just don't have that much time. I can't dedicate 3 hours to.
I watched Ted Nugent. I watched some of the Bert Kreischer because I wanted to see if he said anything about Owen Benjamin, because that was the day like after all
After
that
he
stuff
posted
went out.
that?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm sure I am I'm such a
Or he was
rubbernecker.
doing it like at the same time or something.
I'm
like that,
such
maybe.
a rubbernecker for this kind of shit. I'm definitely going to be looking at
Yeah.
definitely looking out for that. I love drama.
Oh, the other thing I saw today. Actually, there was. Dang it, I forgot one of them.
Well, you got to make it quick. We're not getting close to the end.
Oh,
of our
it was
time.
just a quick comment. About John McCain. He passed away.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I was on Twitter, and people filmed themselves in a bar singing about it.
Like
They were glad.
Well,
People are fucking pieces of shit.
yeah, I was about to say this. This concludes this segment of people are assholes. I don't know what to say about that, except why, why? It's like,
And they say that
why
the right is the violent
jerks?
jerks.
Yeah.
Like, you're singing about somebody dying that died of cancer.
Yeah, that's really
The day that it happened.
Yeah, I got that was, I mean, I guess we can quickly just end on this, right before, we got 2 or 3 minutes, but, the thing, John McCain always seemed like somebody that was, he was actually trying to be a principled, person in politics.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like his considerations, whether or not you agreed with everything he said, he didn't seem disingenuous the way a lot of people do, where it's you could tell it's a political calculation. For him, it actually seemed no, the things that I said, and believed in, they were, I just thought they were the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And, I liked him for that. He got probably unfairly savage in 2008 when he ran, but he was a good person. Even the last couple of years, I didn't agree with a lot of the stuff he did, because he was, he was the one that saved the healthcare thing, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Right. So I didn't agree with that, but with the healthcare thing, something I knew a lot about, clearly. Yeah, but I didn't agree with it. I don't know what he did, but I didn't like it. but he always seemed like a genuine person. Yeah. So I always appreciate that about him. It's fucked up that people would, once someone's dead, just respect what they did. The guy.
Yeah, you don't.
Guy was an American.
Because I don't think you should go the opposite way either. If you didn't agree with him, you shouldn't just automatically start saying all the good stuff. You shouldn't just praise him for shit that you didn't agree with either. But you don't have to cheer. You know, you can just be because it's sad. It's a death. Death is sad.
Yeah, and he had he had a family, and it wasn't an evil person. He had they were. It's just politics. Those are. He just had disagreements on how to make the he tried to I think hopefully, at least for most people on this, if you're in politics on some level, you want to make your country better. So you shouldn't malign them as evil, if they have a difference of opinion on what that entails exactly.
Yeah.
It's just a level of just venom that's
really assholery.
Yeah. What is it?
Assholery.
Assholery. Yes. All right, we gotta end it. Assholery, word of the day. Goodbye.
Later.